And back in the US again, how's the trip been for you all so far?
Well, we had a real good time here a couple of years ago, and I think that coming back has been great. And obviously we come back a different team and a different club 2 years on. So far it's been great.
I think there's something like 9 Premier League clubs that come to North America or will do this summer. What does it have going for it from a variety of things for football clubs to attract them here, do you think?
I think for us it gives us a great opportunity to come over to the Americas and you know, take this great club to where we've got some you know, a great support base over this side of the world. So and I think as I said, it's obviously commercially for football clubs and probably for a club like ourselves, it's very much worth that. But obviously ultimately our trip here is to get some quality games in and get some real good work in. And for us as a football club, that will always take priority. You know, the football is very much the focus. You know, we're here to improve on our fitness and develop our fitness levels, and obviously meet some of the great supporters that we have, like I said, over this part of the world.
You mentioned before how Liverpool has moved on, and certainly you will have got a bit of time, I'm sure, in the sun over the summer to reflect on where you've come as a manager, where Liverpool have gone as well. Was there a great feeling of pride as to how quickly things have moved on?
Yeah, it was a difficult moment when we came in, and because I think the club had gone through you know, a number of years of instability, and it was difficult. And obviously Kenny been in and done a great job when he came in and stabilised everything. The club then wanted to go in a direction where they could implement a vision and give the team an identity that hopefully they could, you know, carry for a number of years. And that's obviously key. When I came in, there was some difficulties early on in that first 6 months, because we were trying to implement a vision that would go right the way through the football club, not just the first team. And like as I said, once everyone grasps their identity, and there's a lot of work going on in order to continue to improve that. But I think last year we made a big stride forward in terms of where we want to go, but there's still quite a way to go for us yet.
It's interesting that you mentioned Kenny. I think one of his first press conferences he said that as big a job of managing a team as sometimes managing expectations of supporters as well. With what happened last season, do you think that's going to be important as well for fans to keep things in perspective next year?
Yeah, I think we're ahead of schedule. There's no doubt about that. But it's difficult because of the nature of football. I think it's great for the supporters. We've seen a tidal wave of support last year from Liverpool across the world, and also I think a lot of the neutrals enjoyed watching Liverpool last year, and many of the people that I've spoken to, supporters from all various clubs and people in media and press and whatnot, all would have loved us to win it. But what it does is it gives us great inspiration going forward. We will have a greater belief now. You know, our younger players will have gained from that experience last season, and obviously on top of the players coming in, it's going to make us a stronger force this year.
Of the players that you've added then, there's certainly attacking flair in there. What do you see them adding to what you already had last year?
Well, obviously the loss of Louis was, you know, something that you can't make a direct replacement for that. But what we done was we put in place a system that was going to allow the team to flourish. And Louis got 31 goals. I made 70 other goals on top of that. So for me, it's about bringing in players that fit the profile, that can add that attacking threat. You know, I feel the game might be a slightly bit different for us. You know, we won a lot of games last season, and in particular at home, I think teams may come and block out the game a little bit more, so we have to find different ways on which to penetrate and get through. So hence the reason why we brought in Ricky Lambert as someone who's got terrific power in the air. You know, he's got wonderful touch and lovely feel for the ball, but I believe he's got a real strength in the box, and he's shown that over many years. Adam Lallana is great in the 1 versus 1. He can take people on, he can beat people. You know, he can beat 3, beat 4 and get a goal. So he's going to add goals for us in that individual flair. As will young Markovic, who again is great in the 1v1 situation, can penetrate, is fast and very exciting. You add Emery Can to that, who's got power and pace and can get forward. I think, like I said, they're real young, exciting talents, and that can come in and hopefully, as I said, affect the team.
Plenty that have caught the eye. The Ricky Lambert one, though, is fantastic, and it's one that's captured the imagination, I think, of Liverpool fans, because there are very few stories like that in football anymore, are there?
No, I think, and listen, I want to first of all talk about, because there's been a lot about this here, with Ricky coming back, and I feel for him a little bit now, because people are talking about it as if we brought him back as a great romance story. He's here because he's a good player. You know, I've really been impressed with Ricky Lambert over the last couple of years in the Premier League. I'd obviously seen him at lower level playing, and he always had the talent, but he's really narrowed his focus in these last few years. His goals record is incredible, you know, and he's shown that he can be a real influence in the Premier League. So I think he's here as a guy who can really contribute to our season. And I think what has added to that is that he's a lifelong Red. You know, he's got the tattoo, he's got the lot, he's a cop-out, he's a real passionate Scouse guy, but ultimately he's here because he's a terrific football player.
One thing I was really intrigued and very interested in hearing you talk in the press conference yesterday was about the profile. We all know about the ability that sometimes comes with being a Liverpool player, but you're saying that you're putting in so much work now finding out if their character is right, their personality is right to come into Liverpool. How much work goes on behind the scenes to find out what kind of human being you're signing first and foremost?
Well, we try a lot of different ways, and look and work hard to find ways to find out everything we can about the player. You know, there's our recruitment team and management team. We do a lot of work on that, because I think, as I said, you can go to spend a lot of money on someone and his talent, but if he walks in the door and he doesn't have the right attitude, or he doesn't have the right capacity to learn and take on board, then he can't play for a club with the prestige as Liverpool. You know, there'll be another club for him. But for me and how I work in particular, I need players that are devoted to their life as a footballer. I think what you see now, 2 years on, in our time here, the stories about Liverpool are football stories. You know, it's because we have a group of players that are really focused on their work. They're very hungry to learn and improve, and they have to have that ability to be technically strong, tactically play a part in the game and play and think, but obviously they have to have that personality to deal with the pressures that come with playing for such a big club.
Are you asking them questions then when you get them in front of you? Because you know about the player, you've had all the questions asked that you want to, maybe from managers who've worked with them before, but are you posing questions to them about where they see themselves, etc.? Yeah,
absolutely. I think when some of the guys will tell you, the likes of Daniel Sturridge, I spoke with Daniel and went through a number of questions for him in terms of, before he decides to come to here, I wanted him to think about a number of things, because if he wasn't going to be able to have the commitment and take on the responsibility to learn, he would come into an organisation that is one of the biggest in the world, that was going to help him become the player that we think he can be. But it's a responsibility, and it's committing your life to the football club. And if players don't think they can do that, and I look in their eye and I don't think I get the right response, we won't take them. So when I met Daniel, because there's other teams, there's lots of other teams out there, but there are very few of the size of Liverpool and the demands of Liverpool. So you have to have a special personality to come and play for a club like this here. So I want to find that out as much as I can before, as opposed to when they come in and then you realise, it might be too late then. So that was the case with Daniel. It was the case with young Markovic. When I met him, I flew to Zurich to meet him and look in his eye, and he was very committed to coming to us. So that's it. To play for a club with such the prestige of this age, they have to have a certain character. Listen, don't get me wrong, you'll bring players in that you think are maybe right, and it's only when they come in and actually feel the pressure for themselves that they realise it's a difficult gig at a club like Liverpool. But in the main, it's something that's very, very important. When you're looking at players and as I said, you're looking at the mentality. And I think if you look around the team now, you've got a real hungry group of players that are wanting to succeed. And that's the type of players that we want to hear, and that's the types of players that's going to push us on. And those are the types that have pushed us on in the last 2 years.
You know what we're like as supporters when you sign a new player, it's scouring YouTube to see video clips. Lazar Markovic is perhaps somebody that we've not seen as much of as the other signings. What do you think he will bring to Liverpool?
Well, he's a wonderful technical ability. I think he'll excite the supporters. He's very good in the 1v1 duel. He can take people on. You know, he's not looking to pass it to beat a man. He can go at and be direct. He's tactically very good for a young player. You know, he's played international football. He's played in a couple of countries now, both in Serbia and in Portugal. So he understands the game at a good level. You know, and will add things to that. And he's super fast. I think his speed will really take the eye because he's very, very quick. And as I said, I think he's just a nice boy. You know, he's a real good kid. And there's already been a couple of stories behind the scenes that have really, you know, taken me, and that shows you the humility of the guy. So no, I think the supporters will love him, and again, they'll love his humility, and that's a big part of the Liverpool player as well.
The story that you allude to is somebody that works for the club that he gave a seat up for on a plane. Yeah. It's a fantastic story.
Well, it's a great story, and for those who didn't, he went to get his visa, and had to travel to France to get that. And when he realised that he was in first class, and the young lady who was taking him across was in a different part of the plane, he gave her the first class ticket. So. And that takes a special type of person, and there's maybe not too many who would do that.
Just the final one where players are concerned, because you bring together a big group of players that you take away on a foreign tour during the pre-season. There's also that process of knowing, despite the fact that you've got more competitions, of what are the players best suited to now let out on loan to give them games and to set them free a little bit. Is that a process you're involved in at the moment too? Yeah,
I think it's at the moment it's really assessing where the young players is at. Those players that have been out a year on loan or 6 months on loan, bringing them back in, making them feel a part of the group, giving them game time, and seeing if they have, you know, if it's going to be at the right stage of their development, because that's the key point. You know, we're going to keep them back. They're going to develop playing with the top players every day, but it's giving them that game time, and that's something that we manage and we look at really before deciding whether they're going to be best to go out and get a loan period. So that's currently where we're at.